Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we are looking at night 2 of the NBA season. I promise I won't count down every day all the way up to 82, but it is the second day of NBA basketball here with a bunch more games than we had on Tuesday night. Nice little sweep over here, 4-0. Nate's got some work to do as well. I will say, if you're looking at NFL picks, Nate is crushing me there. So we're helping each other out here for sure. People helping people. But we are going to be looking at this big slate here with best bets in this video. Also got playa props up in a separate episode. So make sure to subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us all season. Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into your first best bet from our first real NBA slate.
Yeah, and of all the things to choose from, Josh, I'm going with the Miami Heat, which I know you love, but it's opening night. It's not some like short rest spot where the Heat might just mail it in because they don't care about the regular season. Like they apparently have a clean injury report other than Josh Richardson. So right. The pick here, Miami -2, small spread against the Orlando Magic. At home here, look, I mean, Orlando is a team on the rise, but I don't like the matchup for them. I mean, when you try to get into a rock fight with the Miami Heat, which is how Orlando has to play, you tend to lose that fight. I mean, they're more than comfortable playing a slow down half-court game where your top two options are really still trying to figure out how to score consistently in the half court. I mean, Franz Wagner, just a horrendous backward step last year. Really struggled against Miami his last two. Shot 7 for 20. Paolo in his career against Miami, 18.5 points per game. Offensive rating of 98.5. Bam back there guarding the back line. Like, I just don't expect either guy to have a ton of success going to the basket. Miami, perennially one of the best teams limiting free throws, which Paolo is highly dependent on, at least the version we saw recently. And I mean, 22nd in offensive rating in the half court last season. Just to back up what I was saying, we got a 208 total here. So Miami, not great either in the half court, as we saw a lot. I mean, it was once again a year where they didn't have their guys together on the court for any sort of continuity. So we see Rozier, Hero, and your boy Alec Burks coming off the bench. We'll see how that all fits together. We'll see Bam expected to shoot threes. Even money for him to hit just one here in the opener, which is intriguing. And Jimmy Butler back with the squad here. I mean, he didn't play in the first two meetings against Orlando last year, and they still won. Like, Hero cooked the Magic's defense. So I think they do have some advantages. And then when they got Jimmy back in there, they won 121-95. So, I mean, for what it's worth, 9 straight home wins versus Orlando. They did drop one at Orlando. And if you want to, counterpoint that narrative, they've lost 3 straight openers at Orlando. Great. One was, pandemic, and then the others were 6 years ago. So whatever there. But the point is, like, I think Miami is a far more mature and prepared team to start the season with a win.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with it. I like Miami a lot this year, a lot more than I did last year. I think there has been a level of, like, we have to take the regular season seriously. We still don't know which random dude from, Division III state is going to turn up and just start being good for them as well. So we always have that in our favor. Random guys just being really good that you've never heard of. That might be a thing for the Heat as well. But they have a solid starting, like, solid 7 to 8 rotation, much more solid than it's been, contingent upon Jimmy Butler playing. But to your point, we don't have any weird shenanigans going on with the Miami Heat, so it's a good point in time to take them. We'll let you know when it's time to fade them, and it's when their injury report looks like the majority of their team. That'll be that moment. But for now, we're going to go with that. I like, for my first pick, an over in the Memphis and Utah game. And I mean, a couple of things here. I really thought this would be at about 230.5, 228.5. I'm still happy to take. This is pretty heavily based on Utah at home versus Utah on the road. And this isn't just last season, but last season is wildly stark in terms of the points per game, total of about 240 when they're playing at home last season, totals of about 229, not even like around less than 230 when they're on the road. So this is them at home. I still think this is going to be the same team as it was last year. We're going to see them play really fast and well at home. And then for Memphis coming in, I'm very high on that team. A lot of people are. It's almost like the it was a dark horse, and it quickly became a front runner for Memphis once people were like, wait, this is a team that won 50 games not that long ago with its core intact. So, but for them, they also play faster on the road. They score more on the road. They play incredible defense at home. We know they've been a really grinded out team at home a lot more. On the road, they're willing to play a bit faster, and that's been the case with Ja as well. In the last season, it was only 10 games, but even in those 10 games, they go from a 91 pace, which they play without him, to a 95. And that was not fully revved up Ja Morant ready with a full legit offseason. He's still come back from injury and other off-court issues. Looks to be well past that at this point. If he is the engine running your team in Utah against a team that cannot stop point guards, then I'm going to go ahead and buy into over that this is going to be a 230 plus total in this game. It's the sort of splits between home and road are very stark for both these teams, and it shows in their matchup when they play in Memphis, roughly 10 points fewer per game in the last 4 that they've had Ja, which dates back a few years. But once again, Utah's been this way at home versus the road before they even got Will Hardy in there. So they're still going to be that team. Ja Morant back in the lineup, comes back in seamlessly, in my opinion, and this thing gets over 220.5.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a place to look for player props, which we'll get into because, yeah, you didn't mention the Memphis front court situation without Jaren Jackson, right?
True.
So now it's Santi Aldama starting, I guess. Zach Edey starting against Lauri Markkanen, who's just like can literally run circles around this dude. I don't see how Memphis is going to get that many stops, and Utah, big home court advantage for them. Yeah, you talked about the splits. They should come out playing pretty well offensively as John Collins kind of settles into that role in the front court for them.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with an over here too. Suns at Clippers, and it's about 224 right now. I mean, I'm maybe more concerned about the Clippers offense. So if you want to just take the Suns team total, that's great. But like they could push 130 here. It's not just hype like it was last year, I guess, when we were like, look at this preseason offense. It's like, no, it's a completely different system under Mike Budenholzer, right? I mean, a guy who is one of the masters of a 5-out offense with one of the highest 3-point rates when that was still the cutting edge of NBA offense. And that was basically around Giannis, who's, a completely different system than having Kevin Durant or Booker as your focal point of the offense. Like, I just think he has so many tools in the arsenal now to keep the Suns looking sharp here as the season starts. And they're certainly not going to have the worst fourth quarter offense in the league. I mean, for what it's worth, they climbed up to 24th in fourth quarter after the All-Star break. But more importantly, I mean, the Clippers defense had the third worst fourth quarter rating after the All-Star break and was generally pretty rough, 115 rating, because Kawhi and PG weren't really healthy. And as we know, they ain't walking through that door in game one here. We'll see if Kawhi plays at any point this season. So it's going to kind of revert to James Harden ball, which is, great if you just want to see offense, if you want to bet overs. And, then we got Kevin Porter Jr. potentially just picking up where Harden left off. If he does only play like 30, 35 minutes, I think that's going to be the Clippers system here. Their pace jumped without PG from 92 to 96 on the season. And then the last 2 games they had without him, 102 and 106 pace. So completely different from the Clippers we expected, which were under machines when they had Kawhi in there, when they had PG locking people up, right? I just don't think they have any sort of wing stoppers to deal with this Suns offense, and I think they're going to counter by just playing that type of Harden ball that results in a lot of points.
No arguments. I don't know what the identity of the Clippers is at this point. I mean, James Harden seems to be happy that it's him, so I think we'll probably be talking about him as he's going to probably at least revert back to somewhat more Houston James Harden. I think we'll see. So there's going to be a lot of usage there for him. And that does mean a lot less defense. The thing that scares me there is he does take the air out of the ball. If the Clippers play slowly and just only want to play in the half court and don't get out and run, at the same time, Norm Powell, Trey Mann, Derrick Jones Jr., all you have is guys who want to run out on the wings. So I think that also helps you speed up the pace a ton. So I'm going to go with an SGP for my final pick here in the best bets because I love the negative correlation that we get for Terry Rozier. So I like him to go under 15.5 points, and I'm taking 3+ assists for him. If you just take his core assist line and parlay it, it's 3.5. So you get it up to 4, gets you about 50 cents. You go up to about plus 185 if you would rather take the 4 assists. But the 3 assists are very interesting because that is something that he has done every single game that he's played with Tyler Hero and Jimmy Buckets. It's the Heat are one of these teams. The Utah Jazz were the same. When I was looking at player props for the Jazz and the Heat, I had to go, okay, games with, and then I had to select like 5 players to make sure that I had everybody accounted for who was out all throughout last season. So for the Heat, I had to be like, I can't just look at Terry Rozier's numbers. I got to look at Terry Rozier with Jimmy, with Jaime, with Tyler Hero, especially like with all these dudes because they were so infrequently playing together. Well, when they did play together, especially with Hero and Jimmy, 10 games, he goes under the points in 8 of the 10 games. He hits 3+ assists in all 10 games. He hits 4+ assists in 7 out of 10 games. So there's clear correlation between him becoming a bit more of a facilitator rather than a shooter. And the thing about playing the Magic is going to be that they're much better at defending spot-up shooters. They don't really double up top. They just rely on Jalen Suggs to just be that point of attack defender, who I believe will be on Tyler Hero, which does make you go, okay, one of the better wing defenders in the league is going to be on Hero versus Terry. So I can understand how that would impact you, but they don't give up stuff to spot-up shooters, and that's what Terry Rozier has turned into when he's on the floor alongside Jimmy and Tyler Hero. Most of the action is Hero up top on the top of the key, Jimmy on one wing, Bam on the other side on the baseline, and then Rozier's the dude either in the corner or on the wing on the sort of weak side, right? So not as many opportunities. The shots drop dramatically in terms of the field goal attempts for him, and he averaged 8 fewer points a game when Tyler Hero was on the floor. And that's really the dude that's more impactful here for the Terry Rozier under is when Hero's on the floor, Terry Rozier's not the facilitator or the dude with the ball in his hands nearly as much. His usage drops way down. So I like him much more as a facilitator, a guy that if he does try to drive to the hoop because he's getting, he's got dudes up on him on the 3-point line, then yeah, the assists are a bit more likely at that point. I don't think he gets to 16 points.
Yeah, I mean, matchup is a big thing, right? There's no bad defenders on the Orlando Magic, essentially. So I like taking the under on points, and 3 assists is not really a big gamble. I mean, yeah, I could see him getting to 5 or 6, depending on the way the breaks go with the assists. So
yep.
Nice, yeah, negative correlation to find here to get some plus money.
Yep, we'll see how it goes for Terry. I mean, obviously he's a feel-it shooter who could just go off because he was feeling it. But this is a bet that I'm going to make 10 down to 10 times. So that's all the time we have for you, though, in Best Bets. We also have Playa Props up in a separate episode for you guys. So make sure to subscribe to that page and continue to follow along all season. Until we see you next, happy betting.